and welcome to a new video. And today we are in Rotterdam with the SE-Manon, our cruise ship that I already showed you in the last videos. And also this video was created in cooperation with SE Tours, but they do not have any influence on the content of this video. Here on the map you can see our route today. When we are leaving Rotterdam in the afternoon, we are going to Antwerp in Belgium. But we are starting at the Boompjeskade, which is the central docking location for river cruise ships. And from there on we are making a private tour around the city. As Rotterdam is one of my favorite cities, we did not book any guided tours as I know the city very well. So we started our tour at the Witte Huis, which used to be the highest building of Europe at one point. Nowadays it's just a very small building in between of many skyscrapers here in Rotterdam. Next stop, the most famous buildings of the city, which are the cubic houses, the so-called kubuswoningen. It is also possible to visit one of those cubic houses, but I do not recommend it. I slept in one of those houses as there is also a hostel, and they are looking very nice from the outside, but the interior is very impractical, so it's just nice to see them from the outside. Our next stop was the market hall, very famous, very beautiful, with a lot of tasty sweets that you can buy there. It's not a market hall for fresh fruits and vegetables, but more for sweets and snacks. So it's also very good for a short visit. And then we ordered a water taxi, which in my opinion is the best way to get around Rotterdam. Also it is the fastest and the most fun option if you want to go to any place that is near the water in Rotterdam. Our next destination was the SS Rotterdam. And we were in the center, so we ordered the water taxi from the Leuvenhaven, or the city center, to the SS Rotterdam. Here in the port that we are in now, we are not allowed to go very fast, but as soon as we are reaching the river Neuemaas, we can go full speed and then it's a lot of fun. Here we are now leaving the inner port. Now we can go a little bit faster, and we are going past another cruise ship of SE Tours, which is the Normandie. This ship is way older than our SE-Manon, but it is used for boat and bike tours, which means you stay on a cruise ship during the night and during the day you're cycling and your ship is following you, so you can enjoy a cycling tour without carrying luggage. So this is also very nice, and I hope that I can show it to you in another video. We shared a taxi with a few other passengers, so we had 2 extra stops in between, which I like actually. It means the ride is a bit longer, and as it's a lot of fun to ride with these very fast water taxis, I always enjoy if the ride is a bit longer. And also we were going past a big cruise ship, the ocean-going ship Iona of P&O Cruises, and this is also something that makes Rotterdam special, as it is one of the very few ports in the world where river cruise ships and ocean-going cruise ships are meeting together. And here in Rotterdam they almost have the same docking location, it's just a few hundred meters apart. Now we dropped off the last other passengers and now we are on the way to the SS Rotterdam, which means Steamship Rotterdam. It's a former transatlantic liner, ocean liner. Later it was used as a cruise ship, and now it is used as a hotel, restaurant, bar, event location and museum. And the visit is free, so you do not have to pay to board the ship, so you can just regularly visit the restaurant or the lounge, the bar. And if you want to see a few more rooms of the ship, then you have to book a guided tour. Of course this is not free, then you have to pay, but the general access to the ship actually is free. So we just spent about 1 hour here as we did the tours around the ship already multiple times. So this time we just came by for a nice cocktail and a coffee, stayed about 1 hour, and then we ordered the water taxi back to our cruise ship. As you can see, the interior of the ship is extremely beautiful. It's mostly original in the style of the 50s and the 60s. And here you can see the waiting room for the water taxis. You can sit comfortably inside, and then you have a screen and you can see when the taxi is arriving. And now we're taking the water taxi back to the station Boompjeskade, which is the docking location of our cruise ship. This time there were 2 water taxis leaving at the same time, so that was also very nice and interesting to see a little race between the water taxis. But we had to make another additional stop at the Hotel New York again, and this time the ride was a bit more bumpy as there were more waves, and that's also a lot of fun. For me, it's more fun if there are more waves, in my opinion, of course. After the stop at the Hotel New York, we passed the Iona again, this time also quite close. Then we are passing the Erasmus Bridge, and after that we are going past our cruise ship, the SE-Manon. Here you can see her docked at the very central docking location of Boompjeskade. And there was also another river cruise ship of SE Tours in the port, a third one, and that was the Olympia. But as the weather was getting rather bad, we went back to our ship, and soon after it was already time to leave Rotterdam. And the sail away in Rotterdam is one of the most beautiful on the European rivers. In my opinion, comparable to Budapest. Of course, in Budapest you have a lot of old buildings. Here in Rotterdam you have mostly new buildings, but if you're into architecture, it's very nice to see the sail away in Rotterdam, and it's also worth staying up late or getting up early in the morning for arriving or leaving Rotterdam. Our next destination was Antwerp, so we are now leaving Rotterdam and heading east on the Nieuwe Maas, sailing past the Olympia. And there's of course a lot of ship traffic here on the Nieuwe Maas in Rotterdam. You can see a lot of different ships, and of course you can also see some of the main sites like the cubic houses, again from the sun deck of the ship. I personally just like to watch the other cruise ships in port, and usually there are a lot in Rotterdam. Here we have a final look at the skyline of Rotterdam, and there are still a few sites on the way out. For example, we will now see the Heef, which is a big former railway bridge. It is now constantly in the higher position as it is not in use anymore. The trains are now in tunnels, but it was kept as a landmark. But recently it got famous because Jeff Bezos planned to remove this bridge because he ordered a new yacht for him, and this yacht was so big that it did not fit under the Heef, and he wanted to remove the Heef for it, but there were many complaints about this, so this project was cancelled in the end and they found a different route for Jeff Bezos' ship. Then we are sailing past the Essalam Mosque, which is the biggest one in Europe, as Rotterdam is a very multicultural city, of course due to the port, with people from many countries with many religions living here together. After passing the Van Brienen Noord Bridge, which is one of the most used bridges in the Netherlands, we're sailing past some more interesting also ocean-going ships. For example, the first ship you saw was another yacht, even though it looked like a military vessel. And here we can see now Noah's Ark. It was reconstructed based on the measurements of the Bible, but it is without a use at the moment. It's just docked here since several years. Soon after we are leaving the Nieuwe Maas, heading on the River Noord. There you can see on the starboard side of the ship a very interesting distribution center. It is just a regular building, but it looks like a ferry or a cruise ship. So if you're not looking too close, you can actually think that there is a ship docked in a port, but it's actually just a regular building. And on the other side, port side, you can see some of the windmills of Kinderdijk. And then it was time for the dinner. Today we had an Indonesian themed dinner, as a lot of the crew members of river cruise ships are most usually coming from Indonesia, so they shared some of their recipes. And after that we already reached the Hollandse Diep, which is connected with a lock with the Volkerak. The lock is also called Volkerak Lock, one of the biggest locks in Europe when it comes to the amount of ships passing through. We were taking the smallest chamber of this lock, that you can see here, and this is all part of the Rhine-Maas Delta, one of the biggest river deltas in Europe. And there of course are a lot of very big arms. Most of them are protected from the ocean, the so-called Deltawerke, which is a huge coastal protection system. And part of these are also these locks here that we have to go through. There's not a big difference in height, they are just adjusting the water levels between the different parts of the delta. So now we are on the Volkerak, and from there on we are reaching the Schelde Rhein canal that connects the port of Antwerp with the Rhine. And on this canal you can see a lot of cruise ships, because most cruise ships are reaching the port of Antwerp early in the morning and leaving during dinner time, and those ships are always meeting here on the canal, so you can watch a lot of different cruise ships on your way to or from Antwerp. And that was also what we did during this evening. And after meeting the biggest river cruise ship that is currently existing in Europe, we reached the next lock, the Kreekrakschleusen, and as it was already very late in the evening, I watched maneuvering into this lock from our cabin. As we had the French balcony, I could just open the cabin, a window, and watch the maneuver from our cabin. It's quite interesting to see how the ships are going into these tiny locks. Usually there's only a few centimeters space on each side, so be careful, do not lean out of the window, as there can be sometimes not even 5 centimeters of space between the ship and the wall, so you have to be very careful here, of course. Very interesting are the gates of the lock, as they are not going down but they are lifted up, so you get a free shower if you're on the sun deck, as you can see here. And now we are in the lock chamber. And here we are already leaving the lock again. As you can see, there was also no big difference in height. And here we have another gate opening with a free shower. And that is it for this video. I hope it was interesting for you. Here you can see the name of the song and when my video from Antwerp will be uploaded, the next video. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video.